The sadness in Sam Heughan's eyes was visible before he said a single word. He sat in a quiet room, the soft glow of a warm lamp casting gentle shadows across his face. Fans expected a routine interview, something playful, charming, effortless, like Sam always was. But this time, he looked heavier, older, almost. Then he whispered, "I think it's time I tell the whole truth about Caitríona," and the world froze. Within seconds, the livestream chat erupted with panic. Thousands of comments flooded the screen. "Are they okay? What happened? Sam, please don't make us cry." Even the interviewer seemed startled by the trembling in Sam's voice. He wasn't teasing, wasn't being mysterious. He was hurting. And for the first time in years, he was ready to let people see it. Sam explained that something had happened recently, something that made him rethink the silence he had held onto for nearly a decade. "I've been carrying this for years," he said quietly. "And I think keeping it inside has hurt me more than anyone realized." His hands shook slightly as he spoke, and he looked away from the camera as if gathering the strength to continue. The atmosphere felt fragile, like one wrong word could shatter him. He began to talk about the early days of Outlander, about how he and Caitríona built their partnership under impossible pressure, fame, expectations, intimate scenes, emotional storylines, and millions of fans projecting their fantasies onto them. "We leaned on each other more than people know," he said. "And sometimes, that made things harder, not easier." He paused, swallowing hard, as though the memory still stung. Sam recalled moments the outside world never saw. Moments when he and Caitríona supported each other through exhaustion, fear, and the crushing weight of portraying one of television's most intense love stories. "We bonded quickly," he said. Maybe too quickly. That line made the interviewer shift in her seat, sensing the depth of what Sam was hinting at. Then Sam's voice softened even more. "People always imagine the beginning of our partnership as magical," he said. "But there was a moment, a very private moment, when everything changed for me." He didn't describe it fully yet, but just mentioning it made his expression heavy with grief. The fandom watching the stream collectively held its breath, aware that this wasn't the type of story Sam usually shared. He spoke about the pressure they faced from fans and the media. How every glance, every gesture, every touch between them on screen was dissected, romanticized, exaggerated. "People wanted us to be something we never said we were," he continued. "And we tried so hard not to disappoint anyone. But in trying not to disappoint the world, they sometimes disappointed themselves." Sam admitted that there were times when he and Caitríona had to distance themselves, not because of tension, but because the outside pressure became unbearable. "We weren't just acting a love story," he said. "We were carrying it, and that weight," he explained, "sometimes forced them into emotional corners they didn't know how to escape." The sadness in his voice deepened. Then came the moment that changed everything between them, the moment Sam referred to as the one he could never forget. He described filming a scene during the first seasons, one that demanded intense emotional honesty. After the director yelled, "Cut," Sam felt himself collapse internally. "I wasn't Jamie anymore," he said. "But I wasn't Sam either." Caitríona noticed immediately. She pulled him aside, away from the crew, and asked quietly, "What's wrong?" It wasn't the question itself but the softness in her eyes that broke him. He realized in that instant that she saw through him, saw the fear, the pressure, the doubt he had been hiding. "I'd never felt that exposed," Sam admitted. "And I didn't know how to handle it." He revealed that what happened next was something he had never spoken about publicly. Something that still hurt to recall, even after all these years. He didn't share the details yet, but he admitted that the moment left a permanent mark on him, on their friendship, and on how he carried himself on set. "I didn't look at her the same way after that," he said softly. "I looked at her with gratitude, but also with sadness." Toward the end of the livestream, Sam's voice cracked for the first time. He blinked rapidly, fighting emotion. "What happened between us wasn't what people think," he whispered. "And it still hurts." Those final words sent a tidal wave of heartbreak across the fandom. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, every platform exploded with fear and sorrow. What had happened between Sam and Caitríona? Why did it still hurt? And why was he finally ready to talk about it now? The world waited breathlessly, knowing the full truth was coming, and knowing it would change everything. When Sam returned the next day to finish his confession, his expression was softer, but the heaviness remained. He looked like someone who had replayed the past all night and was finally ready to speak without running from it. I didn't tell the full story yesterday, he began quietly. But you deserve to understand why it still hurts. Fans held their breath, bracing for something far more emotional than a scandal. Sam explained that the sad truth wasn't about romance denied or feelings hidden. It wasn't a fight, a betrayal, or anything the tabloids would sensationalize. It was something far quieter, and far more human. He admitted that he and Caitríona had once grown so close, so emotionally intertwined, that he genuinely feared losing her, not to another person, but to the life she deserved outside the show. The sadness in his voice made even the interviewer swallow hard. He described the moment that changed everything. During the first year of filming, before fame truly surrounded them, he and Caitríona shared a late-night rehearsal alone on set. The scene demanded raw emotion, vulnerability, fear, connection. When they finished, neither of them moved. The silence between them felt alive, charged with something unnamed. I felt safe with her in a way I hadn't felt in years, Sam said. And that terrified me. He confessed that he'd been struggling privately with loneliness at the time. The kind no one ever sees in smiling red carpet photos. Caitríona became his anchor, the one person who always sensed when he was slipping. She saw the parts of me I kept hidden, he said softly. And that kind of understanding, it creates a bond you don't expect. The bond became his refuge, which is exactly why it began to hurt. Sam revealed that the real heartbreak came when he realized Caitríona's life was moving forward beyond the world they shared. Her personal life was growing, grounding, building roots. She had found stability and love outside their on-screen universe. I was happy for her, Sam said, his voice cracking. But I also knew it meant our little world, the one we built on set, would never be the same. He admitted there was a day he went home after filming and cried, not because he loved her romantically, but because he realized he had relied on her emotional presence too deeply. He feared he would become a weight on her shoulders or that his feelings, undefined as they were, would complicate her life. I never wanted to be a burden, he whispered. So I pulled back. That pulling back was the beginning of the sadness he had carried for years. Caitríona noticed the shift immediately. Sam recalled her asking if she'd done something wrong. He forced a smile and said no, that everything was fine, even though inside, nothing felt fine. She deserved a friend who wasn't afraid of losing her, he said. But that's what I was. Afraid. It was the most human confession he had ever given. He described how, over time, they rebuilt a healthier form of closeness, not as anchors trapped in each other's emotional gravity, but as two people who respected the boundaries life required. And yet, throughout the years, every deeply emotional scene they filmed reopened the ache slightly. Sometimes acting brings old feelings to the surface, he said. Feelings you thought you'd put away. The interviewer finally asked the question everyone was thinking. Do you regret any of it? Sam shook his head immediately. No, never. He looked down for a long moment before continuing. But I do regret that I didn't tell her how much she meant to me, as a friend, as a partner, as someone who helped me survive the hardest parts of this career. His honesty left the studio silent. He then shared something that stunned the fandom. A few years ago, during a difficult period in his life, Caitríona sent him a message that simply said, "You don't have to carry everything alone." He reread that message for weeks. She didn't know it, Sam said, but that message kept me going. It was both comforting and heartbreaking, a reminder of a connection that had evolved but never faded. As the interview neared its end, Sam breathed deeply, as if releasing years of unspoken emotion. The truth is, he said gently, I never lost Caitríona. She's still my friend, my partner in this incredible journey. He paused, eyes soft with sadness. But I did lose the version of us the world believed in. The version where nothing ever changed and we stayed those two people on set forever. He looked into the camera, vulnerable and sincere. Life moved us forward, and that's okay, but the sadness comes from knowing that some moments, you only get once. Those final words washed through the fandom like a tide, soft, painful, unforgettable. Sam hadn't confessed a scandal. He had confessed something deeper. The grief of a beautiful connection that had to evolve.